much. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I wanted to speak earlier, but somebody was kind enough to put a buttercream recipe instead of my speech over here. And given the time strains, I doubt very much if I'll be able to I'll be able to do the speech. Unfortunately, we are running a bit behind time. So, on behalf of Imam Hussain Council, the Christian Muslim Forum, and Al-Khoi Foundation, I would like to thank you all for your participation today. And also, I would like to thank, with the cause of my heart, our minister who's come all the way from Pakistan. He's a hero when it comes to humanitarian causes, and he has been a judge in his life, and we would like, it is an honor for us to have him here with us. And also, Honorable Minister, this conference has been arranged in the time period of 3 days. So, as they say that, just take the name of the holy ones and the help comes, sort of a thing. So, it is very kind of everybody to come and participate at such a short notice. Brother Julian, my sister Bonnie Evans, it's an absolute pleasure having you after Dr. Khalid Barsi, my brother Murtaza Shibli, my dearest uncle Dr. Adil Hussain Shah, who's left, who's just named me short notice now, and and everybody of you who's just named me lastminute.com or short notice, and you've had to take a day off from work just to it means a lot. And also there were some brothers and sisters from the government who I asked to receive the minister. Thank you all very much for your participation. This conference today is very important in the sense that Markazi Imam Hussain Council over the last 32 years has arranged events to highlight and basically to commemorate and celebrate the birth and death anniversaries of Hazrat Masjid Pak, and the reason being that they have been done so to promote sectarian and interfaith harmony in Pakistan. Recently, over the last 5 to 6 years, as you're aware, we have started commemorating events over here, important ones, interfaith. We had the last one at the House of Lords. And one of the main objectives of our seminars is to highlight the important role played by the ladies in Islam. And although this is like a background of the council, I would like to say that today the topic is interfaith. So although Hazrat Khadija Salamun Alaiha is the mother of Muslims, she is Umm al-Mumineen, but the topic under discussion today is not the time period, not strictly speaking Hazrat Khadija Salamun Alaiha as the mother of Muslims, but as a mother of orphans. And this is the time period where she physically had not accepted Islam. As we are aware, and this is important from the interfaith perspective, because Hazrat Khadija Salamun Alaiha, as my brother brother Murtaza Shibli said, she belonged to the lineage of Hazrat Ibrahim, and they basically migrated to Yemen and Mecca. And he was a very influential businessman, to an extent when there was a time where attempts were being made to steal the Hijra Aswad. It is a stone where Hazrat Adam repented upon and seeked forgiveness, and it is a stone which has a lot of importance in the sense of in the traditions about Hazrat Abraham also. So when attempts were being made to take the stone away from Mecca, it was Hazrat Khadija's father who prevented it from happening. She was from a very influential Christian family, and but what is interesting is that despite the fact that she was from a very influential family, after her father's death, she expanded her business to an extent that it was said that she was famously known as Malikatul Arab, as the Princess of Arabia. And it is in some narrations that she was such a successful businesswoman that it required around 80 to 90,000 camels back in those days to take her goods back and forth. So it used to be the goods of the other people in Mecca on one side, and it used to be Hazrat Khadija has trade on the other side. What does that say to us? She as a businesswoman is known as the Princess of Arabia, and let's keep an issue. The time zone. This is the time where it was very common to bury your daughters alive as soon as they were born. This is the time period when the daughters were being buried alive. And this is the time period, and in that time period where people used to bury their daughters alive of shame, because of fear of poverty, and because they were considered, bad luck. This is the time when Hazrat Khadija earned the title of Tahira. Again, this is the time where she had physically not accepted Islam. And her contribution in terms of humanity, they were just massive. Her house was known as the house of kindness and generosity, because it was open to all orphans. It was open to all orphans, it was open to the ladies, it was open to all the disabled people. And what is important over here is that not only was her house open to the orphans who did not have parents, it was open for the people who had parents, in the sense that if a lady gave birth to a daughter, she had a choice that whether she could go ahead and allow her husband to bury her daughter alive, or she could just go and give the daughter to Hazrat Khadija, who would then be responsible for fostering the daughter. So you see the important responsibility that this lady had taken even before she embraced Islam. And the important message that we get is that religions, at the end of the day, they are way of life. She played such a responsible role before she embraced Islam, and she played such a fantastic role. She is an absolute hero after she embraced Islam. What difference did it make on her conduct towards humanity as to what faith she came from? Because her house remained open for all faiths, regardless of which denomination she came from. Also this conference is important. I feel very, very silly with all these scholars sitting in front of me and me taking so much of time. But just very briefly, it is very important because we wanted to especially thank our Christian brothers and sisters and our brothers and sisters from all the different faiths who had joined all voices of condemnation on the Quran burning issue. And it shows what we can achieve together, and it shows, and we would like to express our gratitude, because unfortunately there is little wisdom in selecting passages from the Quran and giving them a certain meaning, because as all my brothers and sisters in faith are aware, all the divine books, they have come with legislative and informative profits, and although we can grasp them at times conceptually, it is not really possible to understand the essence of them, and there is a reason why we've had prophets come to explain to us the divine messages. And Quran very briefly promotes three kinds of unity. It promotes three kinds of unity. Or as I say, maybe unity is a wrong word, maybe tolerance and acceptance, maybe brotherhood. It's brotherhood by blood, it's brotherhood by religion, and it is brotherhood by blood, it is brotherhood by religion, and then it is universal brotherhood. And when you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, when you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, this verse in itself has both universal unity, universal brotherhood, and Muslim brotherhood in it also. Because in capacity of Rahman, when Allah subhanahu, thank you very much. Okay, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahman, He is the beneficent. He gives to you regardless of what you believe in. He gives you the ears, He gives you the nose, He gives you the eyes, and whatever your denomination, He gives to you. He is the beneficent. He will give to you whatever you believe in. And even if you don't believe in Him, He will give to you. quality as Rahman, that he will give to you. And not only will he give to you, but he will also, not only has he created you, but he has also provided means for you to find your sustenance. Like for example, keep a sugar pot and see how the ants will find their way to it. And the people who have studied zoology know that there must have been a system where all these things have been guided towards finding their sustenance. So not only does he give, but he has provided people sustenance regardless of their beliefs. And from this word, Raham, from this word Rahman comes the word Raham, which means the womb of the female. And I'm going to raise an important point here, that there is a writer by the name of Amuli who says, I am Allah and I am the beneficent, and I have created the womb. So whoever keeps, and I have derived its name from mine. So the word Raham, the female womb, has been derived from the word Rahman. So Allah has associated, and this is very important in terms of understanding the role that the ladies can play, that Allah has derived the word Raham from his own name Rahman, where he gives to all, regardless of their beliefs. And from that has been derived the word Raham, where he says that I am Allah and I have created the womb. So whoever, and I have derived this name from mine, and so whoever breaks its kinship, I will break kinship with them. And whoever keeps its kinship, I will keep kinship with them. And I could have gone in detail, but there is absolutely no time. The thing is that who are your brothers and sisters in faith? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you break kinship with them, I will break kinship with you. According to the Islamic tradition, every child is born pure, and every child is born with one faith. So all of them become brothers and sisters in humanity. You don't become brothers and sisters in faith because of the faith you follow, but because your faith makes it obligatory for you to believe in universal brotherhood. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Sister Rubab. And I have to say, we must be proud in the Muslim community to have a sister like Sister Rubab, who can organize a very successful conference like this within 3 days. I think that must be a record. And also to talk about orphans, humanitarian work, and extending the hand of friendship and interfaith is something, Sister Rubab, we're very grateful to you, and we're very happy that we at the Khoury Foundation were able to help